6:30.
Okay.
All right, and there we are. So hi, everybody. I'm Katie Harris, owner and CEO of Nursepreneurs, and I'm here with Dr. Jim Smart from the Jackie app, and Sarah O'Hara, who, do I hear the baby?
Not yet.
I'm sorry, I love babies. So very exciting, and Sarah owns Synergy up in New Hampshire, so really excited for this webinar. And Jim, if you want to, one, introduce yourself and pull up your PowerPoint at the same time, that would be awesome.
Okay, great. So let me get the share screen here. And
yeah, it's like Zoom. You have to hit a couple times, present.
Yep, no worries. Here we are.
There it is.
And all right, well, I'm Jim Smart, and I'm the CEO of Pictoria Systems. That's the company that makes Jackie. And it's a real pleasure to be here with you today. I know we've had some great engagement with the Nursepreneurs membership and clients previously. And Sarah is here today because she has one of the longest experiences with Jackie. So we just wanted to have kind of a nice informal discussion, and please shout out if you have any questions. And we're going to kind of walk through some critical moments where I think Jackie is really of value.
Awesome. So we can see your screen. We might have left your screen, but we see you and we see the screen and your PowerPoint at the same time. So you can just go ahead.
Okay, great. And Sarah, do you want to introduce yourself to the audience?
I'm Sarah O'Hara. I own a med spa up in New Hampshire. I started with Jackie as they were introducing the app, so I've got to see how it's evolved over time, which has been really cool. And I'm excited to give you guys my feedback too, as an owner.
Great. So again, we've spoken to your audience before, and this is kind of a refresher, but what is Jackie? So Jackie is a patient engagement platform that is really very focused on standardized photography and kind of offloading the burden of that photography from your staff and even yourselves, because the vast majority of the photos are user driven, and that really makes it so that you can get pretty reliable, very nice standardized photographs that are, in my words, are actionable. I was a plastic surgeon for a long time, and one of the biggest challenges I often had was the way that I communicated with patients outside of the office, and especially about photography. And what we wanted to do was try to take those moments that can be really challenging. An example is just, you've got a patient, they may have a concern about a treatment that was recently performed. They may live an hour and a half away. There may be really bad traffic. They may be a really busy, they may have a busy lifestyle. And when I would have to deal with these moments as a surgeon, it was oftentimes the default mode was just, come in and we'll assess you. And we all know that that's a lot of, it's time consuming for staff. It's often very inconvenient for patients that are already there. And so Jackie creates a communication platform, which allows you to kind of leverage mobile technology and a variety of other elements. Today, what we really wanted to focus on was the performance of Jackie in 3 critical moments that we think are, widely seen within the med spa space. And those are these 3 that we've identified. And this is a new marketing campaign that we will have out, and kind of Nursepreneurs is the first group to see it. And these moments, I think, are they're certainly reflective of my experience as a plastic surgeon and working with the number of injectors that I did. And those moments are really maximize the chair. So when to drive revenue and to create efficiencies, the thing we all want to do is to maximize that chair time. We know that sometimes the appointments are standardized and not necessarily reflective of how you want to spend your chair time. And also when you're trying to make an assessment that's really powerful and to make the most out of that chair time from a revenue standpoint, Jackie's going to help with that. So we're going to talk about number one, maximize the chair. Number two is something that we call celebrate the outcome. And again, in my experience as a plastic surgeon, how often did I have patients where I would do pretty invasive operations, rhinoplasties, facelifts, and the inconvenience of coming back to clinic would often lead to me looking at, wow, I did 50 facelifts over the last 2 quarters, and I've only seen half of those patients. And out of that group, I don't have a lot of documentation from a photographic standpoint. When we say celebrate the outcome, we're trying to create those moments using great software for med spa providers and the patients. And then finally, moment number 3 is remember what before looked like, because all of these treatments are cyclical. Whether you're using a filler or a neuromodulator, either they lose their volume or they simply wear off. And we know that a lot of the challenges of utilization in the spa space relate to trying to keep patients on cycle. And Jackie is a novel way to do that, and we'll get into it. But Sarah, as we go through these moments, I just wanted to kind of, this moment, maximize the chair. Can you talk about how important it is to make an appropriate assessment, and then how Jackie might help you do that?
Yeah. So when you are doing any kind of face stuff, so neuromodulators and fillers, you're relying on one being able to like assess them. So they're making all of their funny faces, but they're doing it there in the clinic. So you're spending a lot of time evaluating their face to face, which you are going to do anyway as a part of it, but not as extensively. As far as utilizing Jackie with that process, I was able to come up with treatment plans before they even step into the office, which means more appointments. Your appointments are shorter. You're not spending 30 minutes to 40 minutes doing one of these appointments because you have to do the full assessment and everything. So I found that very, very much on task with like maximizing chair time. If I can spend 15 minutes and be able to have a higher turnover for our patients. Yep. And then they're getting a better treatment, in my opinion, because I can see with the photos, which are very high resolution photos, which clients mention, you can see like exactly where you need to put everything. It definitely cuts down on a lot of the face-to-face time that you spend with clients.
Yeah. Do you think that you mentioned the photographs are pretty high fidelity. Do you think that enables you to, point out particular concerns in a more efficient way and to communicate more efficiently when they're in the chair?
Definitely. So a lot of times the most comments that I hear are, wow, I didn't realize my wrinkles were that bad. Because they can see very definitively where the wrinkles are that they had not even noticed. So we get to kind of adjust a treatment plan. They realize that like, oh, wow, this photo took a really good picture of my face and I didn't see how bad these crow's feet were. I'm going to add that onto my treatment because that wasn't part of my plan.
Gotcha.
So yeah, it definitely helps.
And then do you find that when patients are in the chair, do you feel that they're more at ease because you can clearly look at the exact same thing?
Right. Yes, absolutely. Because, there's a difference between being shown the mirror, sitting there, kind of looking at your face versus actually being able to see the photos and being like, wow, okay, like this is where I want to start the conversation. And it feels almost like a patient-led conversation when they see those photos instead of you kind of maybe feeling like you're pushing more than you should because they've already gone, okay, I want to fix all these things.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I think that experience is great. And then when it comes to revenue, do you simply think that this leads to a better cross-sell?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. It even leads to additional services. We've had a lot of clients realize that they also need like microneedling to get their static versus dynamic
Yep.
wrinkles. So that's been an awesome plus as well.
Nice. And the fidelity of the photography, do you feel like it's good enough to be able to make assessments about things like skin tone, pigmentation, kind of the finer points of patient photography?
Yes, I do. I think it's incredibly detailed.
Okay.
I was surprised at how detailed it was. Even if they're taking them at home and they don't have a ring light and all that, like it was still a lot. Yeah, so it was very, very helpful.
And even if people are signing up when they're in the chair there, how do you think the experience with the app is? Is it relatively frictionless? Do they have a hard time signing up, or
Yeah.
are they immediately kind of taking pictures within a minute or so?
They're pretty much taking pictures very quickly, and it was very intuitive. So it didn't require a lot of like walking anybody through anything either, which was nice because
Great.
it explains everything very clearly, like where you need to put your face, how you need to move
Yep.
your face. So yeah, it was very good actually.
Cool. And can you speak to it as far as onboarding a new injector? Like, do you think that has this changed the way that workflow might go? Has it changed your confidence in what's happening in your office? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so I use it a lot as a training tool if I have a new injector because we can review that before anyone even steps into the room. So
Cool.
it's an awesome open conversation that you're having now with staff about like, okay, what would you do with this treatment? Like how many units would you put here and why? And you can utilize that to kind of do staff training as instead of having that conversation like in front of the patient potentially, which kind of makes people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, exactly. Which is something I did my whole career with my residents, right? You know, I would have them in rooms, and that's still an important part of it, but it's nice if maybe as you transition to totally unsupervised care, that you have that confidence. And then the patients, you know, they've got their photos. Can you tell me in what ways have you used you know, Jackie's not just an app, it's kind of a platform where we have a dashboard and whatnot. But have you utilized sending patients Jackie invitations before they even show up?
Yeah, so we actually made it a part of the booking process. So it's actually in our confirmation email to sign up for Jackie and take your pictures ahead of time. It has our clinic code. So that way people can go ahead and sign up and get that process started before they even come into the office.
Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So do you think there's anything else to discuss about maximizing the chair?
I don't think so.
Okay. I thought all the points you made are great.
Yeah.
So moving on to the second point. So we had maximized the chair, which is really about essentially full facial assessment, right? And we know how important assessment is. And the teams that run big neuromodulator filler companies like Allergan, they will, let's see here. They will stress how important it is to make a full facial assessment. Katie, do I still have you there? Let's see here.
Sorry, my screen keeps moving around. I was trying to mute me and my. Yeah, you still have me.
Okay, because I can't see the actual webinar as I do this, but nonetheless. So number two, and this was one of the main reasons that when we got the team together, we so wanted to execute on this important step, because yes, there are a lot of photo systems that are in providers' offices that can take photos when they're there, right? But the differences with Jackie is that the burden of standardized photography is offloaded from your staff and offloaded from really anybody in the office. And then you engage your patients by letting them take them themselves. So all the operational efficiencies that flow from that. Because frankly, when I was a plastic surgeon, the photo room was incredibly capitally intensive. Sometimes we spent a lot of money on it. New staff had difficulty really taking reliable photos, and it was more or less art that they had to be taught. And ultimately, when it got busy, it got missed. And I would have so many great operations where I couldn't document what it was that my patients were going through and the visual change that they had paid for. And so, Sarah, can you speak to, this celebrate the outcome? How does that resonate with you, and how does it resonate with, you think, clients?
I like that they can take their own photos without having to come into the office. Big time. One, it's inconvenient for them, especially if they're happy with their treatment and everything is fine.
Yep.
But it kind of allows them to also see, like, they're almost like a before and after. They can see their progress, which matters a lot, because sometimes you'll have clients come in and be like, this didn't do anything for me.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, well, it actually did. Let's take a peek.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do that. They can see their photos. They have access to everything, which is fantastic.
Exactly. And do you think oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just like the fact that, like, I'm not dragging people back into the office for them to be there and, like, not want to be there.
Yeah. And can you talk about how maybe this has changed the way you manage touch-ups? None of us really like touch-ups, but they do serve an essential function sometimes when, it's hard to know how a neuromodulator is going to really kick in. Do you think that, how's this been received with patients? Do they love saving, like, travel time, for instance, or just?
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I mean, I think I've had to do one touch-up. So if I had to drag every single person back into the office,
yeah,
it would be not happy with me at the 14-day mark. Usually if there's something wrong, you hear way before that anyway. But I like the fact that they don't have to come in. They love the fact that they don't have to come in, because that's a waste of their time between traveling, depending on what time they can get in. Maybe it's like rush hour traffic. Trying to get to the clinic. So yeah, it's definitely appreciated. And again, I get a lot of feedback about they like that they can see their photos.
Yeah. Do you find that it reinforces the relationship between you and patients to be able to have this moment? Yeah.
Yeah. I think it builds a lot of confidence in your abilities as an injector, because they can see, like, wow, she did a really good job. Like, those lines are gone.
Yep.
Or I've got my brow lift exactly the way I wanted it. This looks gorgeous. Like, it really kind of builds more of a relationship with them, because in this field, it's very much money driven at the end of the day. So if they build a lot of confidence with you, they're less likely to go to other injectors or injector hop, because they know that you're not going to, do a bad job.
And we all know the spa space is not what it was 10 years ago, right? It is more competitive.
Yep.
And I think any mechanism that you have to help retain patients is really quite valuable nowadays.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then can you just speak to the patient response to this as far as recognizing the value of their treatments? Because when I was a plastic surgeon, this was like an area that really never got enough attention, because people would come in for their post-ops. Sometimes their before photos would be readily available. Sometimes the office was really busy. And do you just talk to me about it from the patient perspective, but also, do you like it that the staff can kind of celebrate these moments together?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that from the patient perspective, it's very well received. On the office side, definitely, because we get to see how well we did too, which is great.
Yeah, no, it's so incredibly important, and a thing that I didn't really have often, even though I was doing rhinoplasties, right? I mean, how crazy. So celebrate the outcome. Again, that is, we envision it as a new way to handle touch-ups, to communicate success. And also, the last thing is, I think, from a marketing perspective, Sarah, we see at some of these sites that, we had a 25 patient cohort in a Miami location, and by the time they were done one cycle of neuromodulators, they had something upwards of 400 standardized photos. Can you speak to maybe a new spa has not been in business as long as Synergy? How valuable do you think the Jackie system is for getting photos for marketing and promotions, etc.?
It's invaluable, because it will tell you forget to take them, hands down.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where that's how people decide if they're going to come and see you, you know, they want before and afters. They want to see those on your social media. So very important, very, very valuable to use.
Great. And when you get the photos that are on the Jackie system, because for those listening, when you log into the dashboard, you're able to download these photos. You do have to have the patient's consent to use them, but you have basically a compendium of marketing material that's there. You know, do you think the clarity of the photos is, and the way that they're presented, is almost good enough to just put on social? Like, do you need to manipulate them at all?
Not really, because the way that the system is set up to guide them to take the photos, they're actually very consistent from one to the next. Whereas sometimes you'll see before and afters and they're all different angles, and you're like, well, did that really like look as good as it does, or did they change the way that that looks because of an angle? So I feel like it was very consistent, and the quality of the photos was very good. So you don't really have to do anything with them except plug them in where you want them.
Great perspective. And again, for the audience, the pictures that you see here, these are not cropped. These are not altered. This is what it looks like on the dashboard. And we have different views for different types of treatments. So if it's a neuromodulator, you could take full face photos, obviously, to just see how in balance you are. But if you want to deliver the impact of, wow, do you see what you paid for? If you look at like how Allergan does a clinical trial, it's generally presented in these hemi faces because there's so much information in a full face photo. So what the team really enjoys is that you get to really focus down on the area of interest, and it really does create a recognition, in my opinion, that it's, you know, you see exactly what you paid for, which is fun. Okay, so celebrate the outcome. And then number 3 is remember what before looked like. And Sarah, I think that, you know, what I'd love to hear about your opinion on this is, when I was a surgeon, part of my brand was getting an appearance that looked youthful, but also appropriate, and really retained the character of a person's face, right? I was not trying to make them look like anybody else. Most of the time, I was trying to enhance, you know, a very diverse set of faces. And can you speak to, you know, obviously, before and after photos that are 3 and 4 months out are going to communicate that it might be time to come in pretty effectively. But can you talk about maybe that balance between driving revenue and getting a natural appearance? Because that's what I think the team is shooting for with this third moment.
Yeah, so I like this feature a lot. Like you said, it was like you can see the before and after. We know if they've gone too far. But as far as like making sure that they look natural, I mean, that's what we exclusively do. We're not really big into the making you past the normal plane of anything.
Understood.
So, yeah, so I think this allows the client to really see where they were and where they are now, and how that has retained kind of like that natural beauty where they wanted to be. And then if it goes outside of those parameters, they can see how that's changing as you're following up. So depending on what the treatment is and the cycle that they're on, to take more pictures, they can see how that's changing, and they know when to come in versus letting it go way too long, not realizing that you've changed, and kind of keeping a consistent natural look.
Absolutely. And, you know, just to break it down to 2 specific uses, certainly with neuromodulators, in my experience, when I would inject them, the challenge was generally getting people back in time, so that the benefits of treating their, you know, static lines, they actually got it over time. But also when it came to fillers, the challenge was maybe to get them exactly the right treatment. But let's, you know, to be candid, a lot of lip fillers, you know, there are people that have taken it to places where maybe it's, and there's a dermatologist called named Dr. Fadi, who talks about a thing that she calls perception drift. which is just when you keep using these products, and then sometimes you take a look a few months later and you say, you know, that lip filler, maybe I don't need anymore, right?
Right.
And can you talk about how does that, you know, is that part of the software? Does it drive that conversation effectively, do you think?
I think so. Yes. Because I mean, with that natural collagen rebuild that you get with filler, sometimes you don't actually need it in 6 or 8 months. You can go without, or it may have like done enough natural collagen production that you don't need it again. You don't want your brand to necessarily be like just injecting to inject.
Right.
So yeah, no, I think so. You know, they can see very clearly, you know, if you need something or not.
Right.
Yeah.
And for the audience, you know, one of the powers of the Jackie platform is that we have modules for lips, we have modules for brow and lash, we have modules for, you know, lines and wrinkles, and then also full face for treatments that are things like lasers and microneedling and various skincare elements. So you can really focus down the conversation on these specific anatomic areas. And you know, this was a challenge for me in my past, is that sometimes it was really hard to have a reliable before, you know. So I'm proud of the team that they're able to do that. And so just reviewing this, and, you know, this is our new campaign. And Sarah, thank you for being involved with this, because the input from the injectors is so key. Globally, these 3 moments, is there anything else you would include, or do you think these are the critical things that are in spas right now?
I think these are the critical things. That and I like that it has a cycle that it shows the client so that they kind of stay on track.
Yeah.
Because that really increases retention and increases treatments throughout the year from like the clinic standpoint. Instead of seeing them once every 6 months, you're seeing them once every 3 months, like, you know, they would normally be on track. So I do like that from the clinic owner perspective. Yeah. Sure.
A great point. And just to emphasize again, okay, so you have the Jackie system in your office. What's one of these, you know, we set out to make a platform that was very, very different in the way that we thought about patient photography. And one of the kind of really impactful data points that the team saw is that, you know, patients love to take their photos. They want to engage. They want to see. And, you know, this is a graph of photo growth using the Jackie platform just for 25 patients that were in one of our marketing studies. And I would like the audience to just keep in mind, no provider took these patients or took these photos. There was not a need for a individual photo room to take them. And ultimately, the engagement that you get the system builds on itself, and these become part of your practice assets in a sense. So again, it really builds on itself. So Katie and Sarah, I just wanted to open it up to anybody who has questions about these 3 moments and the Jackie system in general. I know that we'll send out some materials after this webinar. But does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, you know, one of the things that I wanted to highlight here too is just, you know, the cost of acquiring, and maybe Sarah can speak to this, but the cost of acquiring a client in your med spa is astronomical, right?
Yeah. Right.
And there's money left on the table when you already have clients in your database and they're not coming in on a routine basis.
Yep.
And the amount of how little the money is to actually get somebody to come back, but it does require some communication, and that can get, for a business owner that's already stressed out and dealing with a million things and has a huge marketing plan going on and trying to respond to new leads and stuff. The idea of getting to people that are already in your database, you might just be like, oh, well, they'll call me when they're ready, and that never happens. I was supposed to get Botox 2 years ago, and I'm still like waiting for somebody to call me. I guess I don't know what the problem is, but like, So Sarah, any thoughts on getting a new lead versus the money that's already in your email list?
Yeah, big time. Like you said, you won't hear from them. So the reminders on their phone, because they do get, a reminder. So they'll have a reminder pop up and be like, it's time to take your picture from the Jackie app. And that's just like an immediate reminder. They're like, oh, that's right. I got Botox. It was this long ago. I should probably go in for a touch up. I'm going to do my pictures and see how bad they look, But being able to have that kind of automated and taking that off your plate or taking that off of your employee's plate, fabulous tool. Absolutely.
Yeah, and it's an additional touch point without you having to do anything additional, which is such a relief. And when you break this down, this is like $125 per month. Like, I mean, my God, when people come into your med spa, the average cost is $1,000. Like they're spending $1,000, and that's just one client. So one client comes in. And not only does it pay for Jackie app for practically if you had one patient for the entire year, that would basically pay for the Jackie app, and it would be worth it. And the cost of acquiring a client via Facebook ads or any other marketing stream is probably close to $500 to $1,000 per client.
Yeah, and the team wanted the value to be pretty extraordinary. I mean, from what I'm hearing, and Sarah, I want your opinion, but how long does it take to get the ROI from Jackie? Like, do you find that, yes, the assessments are so vivid that people are converting on maybe a neuromodulator or a filler within the first few weeks? And then when did that ROI happen? Do you think it's within a month?
Oh, yeah. Yes, definitely. Okay. Probably less. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good to know. I mean, the team, I'm incredibly proud of the team. It's a really dynamic group of coders and marketing people. And I'm just, it thrills me to hear that. Just so Katie, your audience is aware, this QR code goes to a Shopify link. Should they want to purchase Jackie straight away, they can use this Nursepreneurs discount code. Just for your information, you do have to go through the Shopify transaction system, and at the end, you'll be able to input the Nursepreneurs code. You can also get to us through our website, jackie.beauty, and on jackie.beauty, you can sign up for an intro, generally around a half an hour meeting, can be as short as 15 minutes, where we'll take you through the whole platform and its benefits. It's a much longer sales deck that really gets in granular detail. And then just to speak to how long does it take to get up on the system? About an hour. Once you decide to buy Jackie, we get you a implementation appointment. That's under an hour. Generally, the staff and the patients are able to get up on the system in that brief period. We send you a QR code and a clinic code that then lets your patient sign up, whether it be at home or in the office. And then what we do to follow up is we have a variety of customer success meetings where we make sure things like, yes, we're satisfied with the light and the use of our photography. Yes, the staff can easily engage things like texting and the various photo elements. And then ultimately we circle back with you. These meetings are generally around once every month for the first 3 months. And then we make sure that you're getting the value out of Jackie that you would like.
Yeah, no, the only other thing that I want to add here, because a lot of these med spas, and even if you're not a med spa, there is some other uses here of the Jackiette. So, we had talked about, Jim, about the semaglutide. So a lot of
Yes.
people are doing the semaglutide.
Mhm.
As people lose volume in their face, they need other services, right? We need to build up that collagen and help it from, you don't want saggy, you don't want to be thin and old looking,
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I
And,
think I'd rather be, fat and beautiful,
Mhm.
like have lots of volume in my face, but
Right.
you know,
Yeah, and I think that that's such an important revenue stream not to miss, which is you've got people taking semaglutides. It generally takes months for the full effect of their face. We all know this concept of Ozempic face. It's present to varied degrees in certain clients and not others, but they all generally experience volume loss of some kind.
right.
That can be obviously very it's not rejuvenating looking, it's not youthful looking, it will age them. And capturing that in great photography, I think, is likely to drive people to the facial treatments, which is
Right.
really, the core of our spas.
Because they'll start seeing that, that timestamp of it, and it's kind of like, what's going on here, and then you
Yep.
have that ability to sell them those other products and services that you have that can help with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you go on our website, things like the visual diary of Jackie is the perfect platform for the client to appreciate that, because they're able to create a cycle, whether it's using one of the laser or full face cycles, or just taking their pictures on a routine basis for a schedule they want. It really does give them a very vivid picture of how they've changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is very powerful. So yeah, I love this. I love this app. I think it's got so many uses, and I know you guys have a long roadmap of things still coming out. So we're excited.
Yeah,
to
absolutely. So you will, just so that people are aware, we're going to have the dashboard will be reflective of what we call a jobs to be done approach to engagement with patients, meaning it's going to show you exactly what percentage of your patients you're getting. For instance, pre-treatment and post-treatment photographs. It'll tell you exactly which patients are at 2 weeks out that you might want to message through the app, and then you can prompt them to take their photos. And then ultimately, it's also going to show you, okay, out of that group of a neuromodulator or filler, let's say it's a neuromodulator and you're talking 2.5, 3 months out, you want to make sure you touch the client at that point. It's going to be automated, so you'll see a list of exactly which clients are ready for that touch point. And then you'll also be able to see what percentage of the patients that have the app are actually using, or rather are actually providing those photos. And the fun part is that comes in, and Sarah, we should end with this, that comes in reports that you receive. So, and Sarah, when you look at the reports that you get from Victoria related to Jackie, how helpful are they in showing, what kinds of photos you're getting, how many patients are taking their photos, etc.?
Very helpful, because it also shows us if we need to focus down on some more like touch points with clients as well, if we're not seeing the kind of like numbers of return that we were looking for. So, it's always like 1 or 2 clients that never want to use the app.
Yeah. And there is no app that everyone will want to use.
No,
But
exactly.
I think but no, the team has thought a lot about this, but I think the ROI is quick enough and the price is low enough that even if your whole practice doesn't use this app, you're going to get the ROI quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I completely agree.
Okay, cool. So any other questions, Katie, from anybody that's listening, or any
No,
other?
that's all we got for right now. So,
Okay.
for those that are listening, just go ahead and scan the QR code to get this introductory offer. You're going to go through the Shopify and use the code, the NP2024 at the end. So, yeah, I'm really excited for those who jump on this, because I know that, like you said, you're evolving. There's a large roadmap coming up, and this is like the ground floor, guys. You want to get in at this price.
Yeah. Exactly.
Find out like future prices.
And for your listeners and members, the app is in use in multiple states in the United States and Mexico right now. The user feedback from both the clients and the spas, I think, is reflective of the conversation we've had with Sarah. So, Sarah, thank you so much for being here with us.
Oh no, thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad I was able to give some feedback.
Yeah.
And if anybody has questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I know a bunch of you have my contact information.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much. This was incredible.
Great. Okay, well, Katie, and thank you again. We love to engage your network, and I really hope we're providing a product that's going to provide them with a lot of value.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Have a good night.